All right, what's going on, everyone? This is Aiden Wood Mix and Mastering here, and today I am doing another video, but today we'll be specifically talking about referencing. Now, referencing is going to be one of the most important parts about getting your song to the level that you want it to be. We're going to learn about picking the right reference and then how to use reference tracks to get them to help us make our song as good as it can be. So there's a few things that we're going to go through today. We're going to start with picking our reference track, and then we're going to dive into how to actually use that reference track to get our song to where we want it to be. So firstly, let's pick our reference track. Now, this is a really important part. I think what some people do sometimes is they just pick a song they really like that they, maybe hope that one day they'll have a song like. So it's not really the best way to use a reference track. The way you want to use a reference track is you want to think about, is the song you're picking similar in the synths in there? Is it similar in the drums? Does it have a similar bass line? You want to refer to something that is similar to the song you have, or else you're going to get it into a level and way that doesn't make sense. It's not going to sound like your reference track if it's made differently. So it's really important here to pick our reference track very particularly so that it's similar to the song that we have. So I can see here, the first song I picked was this Love Dancing Kepler Edit, amazing song. And I thought it was similar to my song a little bit, so I'll play my song here. And I'll play the Kepler track. Now, there's things that are similar about that, right? Which is why I originally thought about it. So it's got sort of the stab, which is the melody. It's got a little vocal going in the back. But the big thing I notice in terms of a difference between mine and this song is the drums. And these drums are very, very tight. Mine are much more layered, a lot, not fatter, that's not the right word. They're just a lot more dense. So it's not going to make a lot of sense for me to refer to a song like this because the way I've made mine and the mix of mine is totally different than this Kepler one. So I'm not actually going to use this one, but I am going to use is this Coulter one here. So if we listen, it's still not the most dense drums here, but it makes a little bit more sense to the thing that we're going with. If we listen to our track again, and then we listen to the Coulter track, the Kepler track. We'll hear in the Coulter track that it's a much brighter mix than the Kepler one. The Kepler one's a lot deeper and more bass focused. The Coulter one, which is similar to ours, has this sort of breathy, fresh, airy high end in the drums, which is similar to ours. So because the Coulter song has that stab, which is similar to our song, it has sort of the saturated drums that are a little bit brighter. I'm going to use the Coulter song as our reference and not the Kepler one. So what we're going to do after that is we're just going to start with what we would normally do. We're going to start with our low end. So we're going to use our reference track and look at the reference of the low end in that reference track. And we're going to look at our low end as well with our song. We're going to go back and forth, make sure the levels are right. Then we're going to do that with the drums, the synths, the vocals, the FX. And that's how we're going to use our reference track. We're going to use it to refer to some of those visual cues like the levels. But we're also going to use a couple of creative tools as well. We're going to not just completely rely on the visual cues that we see in the frequency spectrum. So once we have our kick and our bass dialed in, we have our drums dialed in too, then we can get a little creative with it if we want our synths a little bit quieter, a little bit louder. Same thing with our vocals and our effects. So we can use a bit of creativeness with that as well. Okay, so now what we're going to want to do is we're going to make sure that the low end in our reference track is similar to the low end in our mix. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to throw a span on our reference track. We're going to throw a span on our main channel. That way we're going to be able to compare them here. So let's pop open the one on the Coulter song, and then let's start referring here. So we can see our peak is a little bit lower than theirs. That's okay. The main thing I'm looking for here is to get the similar sort of shape that I have in the Coulter song. So again, we're going to be able to get more of that gain, that master out in the final version, like in the actual master. So I'm not too worried about the absolute levels here that we can see on the right. I'm again more worried about that shape. So we can see here that looking at the Coulter song, we have our kick and our hat level, just about level. So let's try and do that with ours. We can see here, we just about have that in ours as well, but I think we can pump up our hats a little bit. So let's do that. So what I'll do here is I'm just gonna add, maybe I'll even add a decibel to our drum. That might be a bit too much. Now it sounds right. See how it's looking here. Looking a bit more leveled off here. Okay, so now that we have our hats just about level with our kick, we can start to look at some of the other elements. So you can hear that main stab is a little quiet. Maybe we can bring up our synth bus just by one display here. Listen to our effects here. There's this cool effect. So we can maybe bring this up here. And again, what I'm doing, remember, I started with my kick, made sure that was around the right level that I wanted it to be, made sure my drums and the hats specifically were leveled off with that kick and that low end. And then I just started to listen with my ears. What's sounding quiet after that? What's sounding maybe loud? Do I have to pull anything back? This is sort of the creative part where you're using your sense and your take on it to listen to the song. So again, we can listen to our reference here. So let's listen to our Coulter track. I would say maybe your drums sound a bit too loud there. It's not going to sound the exact same as our reference track. This is a really important point in referencing. We're going to get it and use parts of the reference track that we want to have in our song, but there is no world where this song is going to sound the same as our reference track. And that's for a lot of different reasons. That's for the hi-hat sample you picked. That's for the kick sample you picked, the low-end bus way that you processed it, for all the drum samples that you picked. There's a million reasons why it's not going to sound the exact same as your reference track. So our main goal here when we're referencing is not to have our song sound the exact same, but it's to use the levels visually and then add a little bit of our creativeness in our own sort of mix there. And that way we're using our reference track in a way that, again, is getting us to the industry standard level of a mix, but with a bit of our own creative touch, which is going to make our song unique. It's going to make our mix unique. And that's what we want always, right? Okay, so we can keep listening here. And something that's super helpful for referencing, guys, is making sure to hit this key button up here And what this will allow you to do is map your reference track or any other track in your song to a key on your keyboard. So here I've picked the little quote. So if I hit the quote mark here, we can see that it solos back from the Coulter song to our song. Just a bit of an Ableton shortcut there that can really help you with your workflow. Super easy to use, really good for A/Bing, so definitely give that a try. Okay, yeah, so let's just do a little bit more listening here. Maybe bring that vocal up a little bit. I think that's sounding pretty good, guys. Yeah, we can look again at our spans here side by side, but I'm pretty sure this is kind of where we want them. And you're going to notice a bit of this sort of 200 to 700 range is a lot more full in Coulter's track. And that's because he has this big synth stab in that area. Those are differences that you're going to have to be aware of, because if we're trying to boost all this area here, if we listen to the Coulter track, like that's what the synth is playing there. If we try and replicate that and we use some sort of like match EQ thing to just totally boost our 200 to 700 range, it's going to sound like shit, because in Coulter's song, that's a synth is living there. In ours, that's not the same case. So really be careful, guys, when you are referencing to not completely match what you're looking at. Round off with things like your kick and your hi-hats, and then kind of add to taste. So add your drums in, bring the rest of the claps and the perks in. Same with the synths, effects, and vocals. But do not try and like one for one copy what you're seeing with your reference track. That's going to give you a shitty song. Again, we're not going to get to the exact same spot that our reference song is. It's impossible for a million reasons, like I mentioned earlier. But again, these are things you just want to be aware of when you're mixing, to be careful of, be wary of. But again, the fundamentals that we spoke about today are the main things that you should be focusing on. So yeah, guys, that's been this video. I don't think there's anything much more to add. If you did like this video, please leave a like. That'd be really appreciated. If you had any comments or questions about anything I did, please let me know, and I'll be sure to respond to it. And yeah, guys, this has been Aiden Wood, Mix and Mastering. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.